Hey everybody, thought I would make a wrap-up video to this Nazca line work I've been doing. It's just apparent to me that if this was indeed the function of the Nazca lines to extend them out over the whole Earth, it seems to me somebody was using these to map the Earth a long time ago. When you take the lines out of Nazca here, this is from my video from a couple days ago, if you take the lines out of Nazca and you extend them around the Earth and they all converge at Angkor Wat, it just looks like a modern-day globe with latitude or longitude lines. That is just what it looks like. That's just common sense. So that brought up a couple other issues that I wanted to go over, and one of them was the very first upload I did was Graham Hancock talking about these really ancient maps that are really strange and mysterious. This is the Piri-Reis map, and this was made about 600 years ago, and it was drawn off much earlier maps that haven't come down to us. And what's really interesting about these is it shows the Earth very accurately, and it even shows the northern coastline of Antarctica, and that is something we did not discover until the 1800s. So how could that land surface be mapped on this ancient map? Somebody had to be mapping and charting the Earth a long time ago, and maybe, just maybe, it was done out of Nazca. Now, another thing that was brought up was maybe this was the old equator of the Earth. This line starting at Nazca, going through Angkor Wat, and then just going around the world. A direct line between Nazca and Angkor Wat. Now, that is very interesting. If this was indeed the old equator of the Earth, then the old North Pole would have had to been in southeastern Alaska. So that's kind of a tough concept to grasp, how the Earth would have got thrown off its axis by so much. And then I remembered a couple uploads that I have done, and one of them, Michael Tessarian talks, or he quotes from a book by Allen and Dallaire called Cataclysm Earth, one of the best books on an ancient cataclysm that happened around 12,000 plus years ago, where we were hit by something big, maybe a fragmented comet or asteroid. The Clovis people went extinct at this moment. The woolly mammoth and many other species of animals went extinct. We had a mini ice age, and it was just one of many devastating things that happened at the end of the last ice age that I believe was the reasons why we lost this lost civilization. But it says this: studies have shown that at 10,178 BC, or over 12,000 years ago, the celestial pole was inclined at an angle of 30 degrees from its present position. This in turn strongly suggests that the terrestrial axis then oriented differently from today. So, maybe this indeed was the old equator of the Earth. And what we are going to do now is we are going to go on a trip around that proposed ancient equator, and you're going to find it most interesting. And here we start off from Nazca, and we're going out into the Pacific, where there really isn't anything. And what you notice is it skirts right alongside this remote island, the only island really out here anywhere. And what is this ancient island? It's Easter Island. The fact that this line goes pretty much right next to it, and before sea levels rise would probably have gone right over land. So that is very interesting. Now we're just going to keep on going around the Earth here, and this next thing I want to show you pretty much right on this ancient line. And if you're talking about just off by some few miles out in the middle of the Pacific, that's pretty much a direct hit. But it's this site right here, and I wouldn't have even thought about this if I didn't have this place marked, and it just happened to fall right next to this line. But I want to show you what's down here in case some of you don't know. But I found this on another guy's channel a while back, and I did an upload just to show people what's down here. But what's really interesting, I don't know how much you can trust Google Earth, but down here on the bottom of the ocean, right next to this line, is this giant spire coming out of the bottom of the ocean. Oop. Now, I don't know how much we can trust Google Earth, and I don't know how well I can operate my computer right now, but that is what it looks like. And it's thousands of feet high, and it pretty much falls right on this old ancient equator, if you want to believe that. Okay, I'm going to get my north-south lined up again here, and we are going to keep on going. And the next spot, of course, it crosses is Angkor Wat right here. And if some of you don't know what Angkor Wat looks like, this is what Angkor Wat looks like. It's just a beautiful ancient sacred temple, and it's really huge, and that is what it looks like. So we'll go back to Google Earth now. Keep on going around the Earth on this ancient equator. And in Pakistan, it almost goes right next to Mohenjo-daro. And if any of you know the strange, weird history of Mohenjo-daro in the Indus Valley in Pakistan, that's interesting. And if we continue this line around the Earth, what would an ancient alignment be without it going? I'm going to show you this here. Here are the Great Pyramids, and this line goes right between, pretty much right over the base of the middle pyramid. So that's how accurate this ancient line is as far as being aligned with Giza. It's going right through the Great Pyramids. Now we're going to back out. Hope you're patient, following along. But this ancient line is very interesting. And it comes back into South America here. And the last spot, it goes right by Machu Picchu also. And also I did an upload today, and I will leave the link below for that. But what it also goes right over, and I'm talking right over, is the ancient fortress of Ollantaytambo in Peru. And here is Ollantaytambo, and you can see that that line comes right up the valley, which is pretty amazing. That ancient equator line goes right over Ollantaytambo. So I thought that was, I mean, literally right over it. So that tells me that Ollantaytambo is a very ancient place. And the Inca have built there, but the original foundation, I believe, is from this lost civilization. And we're back out at Nazca. So this ancient equator, you would have had Easter Island, Angkor Wat, Giza, Ollantaytambo, and Nazca all on this line. And we have evidence that maybe the Earth was thrown off its axis a long, long time ago, around 12,000 years ago. So maybe, indeed, this was the ancient equator of the Earth, and all these ancient sites, Easter Island, Nazca, Giza, Angkor Wat, maybe they were all put on the equator, and that is the answer. I don't know. I just think that is a very interesting theory, especially with the evidence that maybe a long, long time ago, the ancient North Pole was up here in southeastern Alaska, and I'll try to find the links for anybody who wants to read into that. And one last thing. I want to show you this. Down here at Giza, from Giza up to this proposed North Pole is 6,215 miles. From Nazca up to this North Pole is 6,215 miles. From Nazca to Giza is 7,677 miles. So if you plot that out on a piece of paper with a base of 7,677 and angles going, or the two sides going up, 6,215 miles, if you put that up on a piece of paper, a flat piece of paper, you are going to have a triangle, a pyramid with angles of 51.5 degrees, the exact same as the Great Pyramid. Is that just a coincidence? Seems to me ancient sites were marked all around the earth by sacred geometry and other things, and I just find a whole bunch of things very interesting about this Nazca to Angkor Wat line. Maybe it definitely was a possibility that this was the ancient equator of the earth. Hope you thought this was interesting. Have a nice Memorial Day weekend.